All right, hey everybody, hang on one second. I'm waiting for Jim to get in here. I know I'm a little late, but for some reason my internet went out, and so I've been trying to fix my internet. Now I think I'm good. So we'll get started in just a minute. I just sent the link to Jim, and we'll get this thing started. Can y'all hear me okay? Hey, what's up, James? Can y'all hear me?
My volume okay for you?
Oh, hang on. Let me turn my music off. All right. Can you hear me, Jim?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I got a new audio processor, so I shouldn't have the problem I did last time.
Okay, great. All right. So, well, let's just jump into it. I'm not going to do all the intro stuff. I know we talked about this. I cannot get, I just cannot become an attorney fast enough. This stuff really pisses me off.
Yeah,
but I want to make
reading through everything. So,
yeah, I want to make a few stipulations before I get started, because I want to make some things very clear. The first thing is, look, I am not an anarchist. Okay, under any definition of it, I'm just not. So you might disagree with me on some of this stuff, but that's because I don't come from an anarchist perspective. I come from a minimalist government perspective, a very more libertarian perspective. I do believe in a very limited government. And so just understand, I don't think there's anything wrong with those who are anarchists. I don't, but I'm not. And so my arguments aren't going to come from that perspective. And that's just that. The second stipulation is that I want to make, of course, first I have to, is that I'm not an attorney. So nothing I'm about to say is legal advice. Jim doesn't have to give that because he's not a law student. So, but I do. So there's that. The last stipulation I want to make is that the sole purpose of government, in my view, and I'm just telling you where I'm coming from as we go through this law, what the sole purpose of government should be solely is to protect individual liberty. That's it. That's it. That is the only purpose that government should have. That's that's why it should exist, is to protect individual liberty. And so the only laws that I believe are necessarily valid laws are those that protect individual rights. That's it. That's it. Everything else, I think, is out of control and not necessary. That's what government should be instituted among men for, is to protect our rights. And if there are things happening where people are interfering with those rights, that's where laws come in to make sure that they can't do that. And so there is, I'm trying to figure out how exactly we should go in. Should we go into the indictments first, the story first, or read the law first?
Actually, I got to make my statement real quick.
Oh, make your statement. Sorry.
I got two things that's quick, people. First of all, I put out a video out last night on YouTube working with limited and somewhat not correct information. That video will be taken down today. So for anyone who has watched that video, I apologize for misinformation. It will be removed and replaced with this video that has correct information. 2, I do not consent to this video being used by any governmental agency, specifically the Texas Municipal League, and without the express permission of myself or CJ Grisham, may anyone rebroadcast this or use this for anything other than viewing on YouTube. Thank you.
All right. So James Freeman brings up a good point. Let's talk about the story first. And then, because that way everybody knows where we're coming from, and we'll set the basis. So many of you know HBO Matt. I think it's News Now Ninja. I can't remember who else specifically was involved. I do have names.
Blue and the Blue Watcher.
The Blue Watcher. Okay.
Yeah.
So essentially what happened was they were going out there to protest Corrigan Police Department. the Corrigan Police Department is out of control. I realized that. And so they were going to go and protest. So HBO Matt went to the home of Melanie McCrory. And I'm only going to give these names because, and I believe Melanie is News Now Ninja, if I'm not mistaken. I believe.
Now,
if I'm wrong in the comments, help fix me. What's that?
Did this happen prior to their protest or no?
What I am talking about is prior to the protest. Okay. So they were going to do the protest. Matt goes over to the house. Oh, she's blue. Okay, blue, the blue line. All right, so
I think it's two people. It's her and her husband are blue in the blue line.
Oh, gotcha. All right. So Matt goes over to their house. He brings over the materials that he's going to need for this protest that's coming up. And I believe they live in Livingston, which is right next to Corrigan. And he brings over all the materials. They're going to do signs. Well, he was carrying a suppressed pistol in a holster, openly carried. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. Not illegal. He does have NFA paperwork, although I disagree with the NFA and the need to do that.
Myself.
Yes, doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is he was legally carrying, okay, within the law, the unconstitutional law that's been set up. Matt was legally carrying within that time, within that frame. So, well, look, I'm not going to limit name use simply because this is a public document. This is an affidavit. Okay, anybody can look this up. So, yeah, I can give you names, and then all you got to do is go read this, because I'm going to read this anyway, and the names are in this document. So, anyway, I guess what I won't do is try to link names to accounts, I guess, but I guess I've already done that.
Let's just try to use their YouTube handles, make it easier.
Yeah, well, the problem is I don't have their YouTube handles in this document. So,
okay, well, first names, there we go.
Okay. So Matt goes over to Melanie's house, and there are other individuals there. And, I'll just stick to those two names. I won't even give out the other names because these are the two that are mostly involved in this. Someone calls the police. Someone calls the police and says that Matt is carrying that he's waving. Well, here, let's just read this, I think. So this is the affidavit. It's sworn by... Is there even a name on here? Oh, Caleb Barker.
Yeah, I got
so Caleb Barker is the cop that does this. Before me personally appeared the undersigned affiant Barker, who after being duly sworn deposes and says that Melanie, who is the styled defendant, blah, 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 gives all this stupid stuff, did knowingly initiate a report of the present offense. So what Caleb Barker is suggesting here is that Melanie called 911. That's what he's writing here. And so called 911 to knowingly initiate a report of a present offense, to wit, and this is what supposedly she said, a man with a gun equipped with a silencer walking in the housing authority, and the defendant knew that said report was false. Okay, it wasn't false. Let's assume for a second that a man was carrying a gun equipped with a silencer and walking in the housing authority. There's no crime there. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is that this says that the report was false and baseless. Well, wait a minute. Why did they show? If it was false and baseless, why are they showing up at the house? Because this is what happened. Officers showed up at the house based on some police report that apparently they're trying to say was them. The way I'm reading this, if Melanie is who I think Melanie is.
Yeah, and that's a big issue with their entire report here. Is they're trying to say that she made a report that she lied about someone walking around with a suppressed pistol because no one had a suppressed pistol, but they showed up, they talked to the gentleman, he said, hey, I'm not showing you my paperwork because I don't have to. And they later on knew for a fact he had a suppressed pistol. So by them saying it's a false report, that's a lie because they know he had a suppressed pistol. But even then, they know for a fact she didn't make the 911 call. They're trying to say that she's responsible for someone else making a 911 call and saying it's false when they know it wasn't false.
Okay, now HBO Matt says Mel is the apartment resident. So, Matt, is Mel who you were with, or is that the neighbor? But anyway, so while he answers that question, either way, this affidavit, which is a sworn document, the officer is lying about something.
Because if felony in Texas,
if the suppressed pistol was present, right, then she's not lying, as said here, about making a false report, because she's reporting, whether it's legal or not, she's reporting to 911 that there's a man walking in the housing authority with a suppressed pistol. So either that happened or it didn't happen. If it did happen and there was a suppressed pistol, then this is a lie. It wasn't a false report. If it didn't happen, that there wasn't a suppressed pistol, then they wouldn't go on to talk about the fact that they were demanding the NFA paperwork. So she apparently made a false or baseless accusation report that would ordinarily cause action by an official agency organized to deal with emergencies, namely the Livingston Police Department. Okay. Mel and White got arrested yesterday. They are after me and 2 others now. Okay, so I believe, same person. So it's not the neighbor. So he goes on. He talks about the fact that he's blah, blah, blah. He says, a fiat will show that Sergeant Ronnie Bogani was dispatched to the aforementioned address in reference to a male subject walking in a residential housing area where children are present, Jim.
Yeah, I saw that.
Jim, where children are present.
But children, we got to save the children. The children.
We've got to save the children because
there's a piece of metal that makes things quieter. So any car muffler is going to endanger the children.
So apparently he walked in an area where children are present with a gun equipped with a silencer. Okay. A fiat would show that the 911 caller stated the male was walking with the gun in his hand and the entire neighborhood was, quote, going crazy. This is actually in quotes. A fiat will show that a second 911 call was also received by this department. And that Sergeant Bogani was joined by Officer Scott Paskey. Why can't they have normal names? Why can't these cops have normal names?
Because they're made in high school.
Yeah. And the 2 approached the residence and made contact with 4 subjects who were inside the residence. A fiat would show, due to the nature of the call, 5 additional officers left their normal duties in order to respond. The subjects were later identified through further investigation as Brandon, Melanie, Matthew, and a yet-to-be-identified white male. A fiat will show that those individuals began filming. Oh, my gosh. This is where it gets bad. Jim, this is where we're outlining the domestic terrorists that these people are. They started filming the cops, Jim.
They pulled out their assault cell phones and recklessly started recording public servants.
Right. So these 3 individuals, an unidentified male, began filming Sergeant Bogani and Officer Paskey with their cell phones. Good gosh,
Now remember, this is from.
I may need to take a break here for a minute.
Too. This is inside a private residence.
Yes.
So how dare these individuals record inside of a private residence? I mean, that's just, we can't do that.
But it gets worse. The absolute criminal nature of this entire case. Another cell phone was observed propped up in a window that faced the front door where Bogani and Paskey were standing. Whew.
You know, I think at this point, it's obvious we need to start new legislation to ban assault cell phones because we just can't have citizens going around recording anything they want in public. We obviously know that the First Amendment was written like 200 years ago, and it's obviously outdated.
You know, why does anyone need to prop up a phone in a window? It defies logic. It is completely unnecessary.
They can't afford that $25 little stand thing, so it's obviously poor people. Yeah,
no one needs more than one phone.
Oh God, no. I mean, I got like 5 cameras on me right now.
Sergeant Bogani began an investigation and attempted to identify the individuals in the residence, by the way, who weren't committing any crimes. Even if,
they're
again,
unlawfully gathering for domestic terrorist reasons.
Even then, the only thing that is said here, because they're investigating what the call says right here, that there was, well, I guess a male was walking with a gun in his hand, and the entire neighborhood was going crazy. Look, I know Matt. I think I've had a few events with him, but I definitely know him. I've been watching his stuff for a long time. The dude's not going to walk around with a gun in his hand, and I know for a fact, because he told me, that the gun was in a holster. So if anyone's going to file a false report, it's going to be this neighbor that called the police to do this. All right. So they're trying to identify the individuals. Now, I will say this. They are investigating criminal activity, but these people aren't under arrest, and you do not have a duty to assist the police with an investigation. You don't have to. And you don't have to identify unless you're under arrest.
Well, real quick, while we're on it too, we need to speak about, because a lot of people don't understand, because I have a lot of NFA devices. I got suppressors. And if you look at 26 U.S. Code 5841E, where it talks about whether or not you need to show your tax stamp or any of that. Now, the law underneath federal law says if an ATF agent, not a law enforcement agent, just an ATF agent, demands to see, now it doesn't have to be the original, just has to be a copy of, if you have a trust, because if you have that way a trust in your tax stamp, you have to provide it for them when you have the suppressor, short barrel rifle, any NFA device, weapon, whatever, in your possession. You have to show it to them. Even if they show up to your house and say, hey, we want to see your stuff, you have to show it to them. That's an unfortunate part of ownership under the NFA, which that's a whole different story. But when it comes to local police, there's nothing in state law in Texas, in our laws, that say that an individual who has an NFA weapon has to present proof of ownership through a tax stamp, trust, or anything to a police officer. It's not there. And there's plenty of case law that says we don't have to provide it to them. Now, they could try to say it's unlawful or you have it illegally. So I would say it's a good thing to have the paperwork, just in case you got a cop who doesn't know how laws work, just in case they try to stop you. And if they try to arrest you at that point, hey, here's the paperwork, go screw yourself. But that does not give them the legal ability to show up to a private residence, demand that you, produce the NFA suppressor, the paperwork, and everything for it. That is an absolute violation of the Fourth Amendment, and those officers had no legal ability to show up and demand that. So that was absolutely unlawful.
Right. Now, I'm gonna get into, or we will get into the Justin Pulliam aspect of where he gets into this, as well as the law that everybody's.
He wants to be dumb. Just let him go on his little rant and try to make drama. I'm ignoring the guy. Whatever. If he wants to try to get views through stupid stuff, I'm just going to ignore him.
You know what? I'll leave it at this. I completely. First of all, I'll just leave it at this, and then this is the last I'll say about Justin. What a low-life, unmanly person to, instead of just engage in a dialogue with an individual. Because everyone knows when you talk about OCT, you're probably talking about CJ for the most part. But to go and attack me and my organization instead of coming to me directly and talking to me like a man, that's cowardice. That's what that is. That's cowardice. I've known Justin for a long time. He knows where my heart is. He knows where my head is. And he knows it's absolute bullshit for him to claim that I in any way work with law enforcement to undermine people's liberty. My entire existence goes against that. And just because we disagree about what a bill says, I'm going to prove him wrong today. Look, Justin has just become a whiny little bitch. That's it. That's how. What's that?
just become? I mean, that's not really
Okay, maybe he has been, but let's just go back to this. All right.
He did some great work in Leon Valley. Let's give him credit.
Oh, I'm not going to disparage his work. I'm just going to say that he's creating drama and creating problems where there don't need to be. Look, if you got a problem, go talk to the people. Don't get on fucking YouTube and all this stuff and start creating drama and causing problems. Anyway.
As James Freeman very much said, can we stick to the facts of the case, please? Yes, sir.
I am sticking to the facts of the case that Justin's a bitch. All right. Okay,
continue.
So Melanie, no, the Texas legislature is not in session. So Melanie apparently called the cops on themselves. This is what I think they're trying to do. Okay, they're trying to say that Melanie called the police on themselves.
There's someone making mad words on the internet about me.
Yeah, I did say fuck you. That's exactly what I did. So, and you didn't answer me, Justin. You didn't respond to me. You went on fucking face on YouTube.
Nope. Ignore.
All right.
No, just continue on.
All right.
I'm not a drama queen.
Moderators, please don't block Justin. Okay, he needs a place to vent, and people need to be able to, he wants people to see him. So let him do that, mods. All right. So that's the Melanie thing. They're essentially trying to say that she made a false 911 call. Now, here's where it gets really funny.
Oh, the bank.
Say again.
Did you read the stop they had at the bank across from the police station?
Oh, well, yeah. You want to go into that? I'm just talking about the affidavits right now.
Yeah, well, it's in the affidavit.
Okay. Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, let me get back to. So that was the Melanie affidavit here.
Let's talk everything, and then we can do how they kind of came together with their strategy into their arresting tactics.
So, see, and that just goes to show you that I don't hold any ill will towards Justin, that I let him continue to be a moderator on my channel. All right. So a file will show also that Rankin, I use the last name anyway. All right. Rankin was the suspect in possession of the handgun and also refused to show any paperwork in regards to the silencer on his handgun, which was requested by Officer Paskey. Additionally, due to the actions of Rankin, this agency received 2 911 calls from individuals who perceived his actions as alarming. So a file will show that both 911 calls were collected as evidence. So I do have an open records request in for both of these 911 calls, but I guarantee you they're not going to show that Melanie is the one that did this.
Now, let's get into that verbiage real quick, because notice how they use the words alarming.
Yes.
This is the common tactic police do. Anytime that there's a firearm present in any situation, even if it's completely legally carried, even if it's in a holster, even if nothing's done, they will use the word alarming, because that goes to calculated to cause alarm, which is a crime in Texas. But there is no definition on exactly what you must do to cause alarm or how you must calculate to cause alarm. So by simply adding that verbiage, someone was alarmed, regardless if it's some, like we were in Austin and there was some lady who, I don't know what her problem was, but she screamed machine gun and then ran past a group of us open carrying, even though she knew we were open carrying, saw it from a block away, and decided to make a spectacle. Well, if she was alarmed by our machine guns, she could say, the cops, I told the cops I was alarmed, go arrest them all. This is a very common tactic used by law enforcement to say, someone was alarmed because we use that term, it's now a crime, let's go ahead and arrest them.
Because 4201A8 has that word, causing alarm, that you intend to cause alarm. And so they completely forget the intent element, but they love to use that word alarm. They try to stick it in there. They use it. When they're interviewing subjects or witnesses and they don't mention the word alarm, they'll always say, would you say that you were alarmed? So they can put that in the report. Oh, he said he was alarmed.
Yeah. You intended on carrying that firearm, and you knew people may be alarmed, so it's your fault.
Exactly. So there's that. And I'm building up to what this all gets into. So the next affidavit here, and it's from the same person here. Oh wait, this is the. Oh, okay. So again, says Melanie, who's the defendant. I got to get through all the stupid legalese that they write in these damn things.
I summarized it. I'm lazy.
Here we go. Did with the intent to establish, maintain, or participate in a combination or in the profits of a combination, the combination consisting of the defendant, Melanie, and Ishmael, Brandon, Matt, and an unidentified individual who collaborated in carrying on the criminal activity that I'm trying to like not dumb this down, but just get rid of all this stupidity that why can't they just write in English? Just write the damn affidavit.
Well,
anyway,
because they're going underneath the Texas Penal Code for organized crime. So they're
that's what I'm going to get to. Yeah, so the word combination is a trigger word for conspiracy.
Yeah, they're writing out the penal code for it by saying what they did was this part, this part, this part. So they obviously committed this crime, even though it doesn't meet the definition.
So all of these individuals committed an overt act in pursuance of some agreement. Apparently they know about some agreement, Matt and his cabal there, namely, here's what they conspired to do. Stalking a uniformed police officer in his marked patrol unit while driving a vehicle with dark tinted windows.
No.
And the driver was wearing a ballistic proof vest with ammunition.
Don't forget that it was a vehicle that came back for plates that was out of the city too.
Oh yeah.
He came from a different part of the state, so that makes him a threat.
Yeah. And so that's his accusation. His accusation is that there is a conspiracy to stalk police officers at this point, which I still don't get now. I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's the connection between this call about a man with a gun and this cabal of people who are suddenly involved in this giant conspiracy? And again, we're going to get into the law on this. I hope this doesn't get too boring for people. But so the affidavit continues. What's that?
On the stalking part, they brought it to the point where, they tried to show that they were dangerous. They had ballistic armor, that they had weapons, but they came up to a vehicle that was parked on private property legally that was stalking an officer. When they confronted them, they refused to identify, even though they had no legal ability to ask them for their ID, that they were suspicious in their actions and that they were stalking the officer. It's like, so basically you're bringing a lot of conjecture of things that you think aren't right, but they didn't commit any crime. It's literally a whole page of, hey, they didn't break any laws, but they looked suspicious. And here's the things that look suspicious, so we don't like it.
It would be akin to these same officers now. We've got to be careful, Jim, because we might have conspired to do this video.
And if it's monetized, then that means it could fall underneath organized crime because we're having monetary gain on it.
Exactly. So here we go. So the agency investigated the offense of engaging in organized criminal activity, which occurred at 308 West Church Street in Livingston, Polk County. The officer, Chris Simmons, was on a routine patrol and performing his law enforcement duties. He observed a small four-door. Now, Jim, I want you to stop me when you hear a crime. Okay? Just stop me, interrupt me, and say, there it is. There's the criminal activity. He observed a small four-door blue car stalking him as he drove his marked patrol unit. Affiant would show that Officer Simmons stopped at a local convenience store and the vehicle stopped adjacent to his patrol unit in the parking lot. Officer Simmons was concerned for his safety because he's a coward. These heroic people are concerned because someone parked next to him. Was concerned for his safety due to the recent killings and ambush of police officers while on duty. Where? In New York. not in Livingston, flippin' Texas. All right. So he was concerned for his safety because he's a little whiny coward. Where'd he go here? I just lost my place. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, still not hearing.
There he goes. No one ever exited the vehicle while it waited on Officer Simmons to exit the business. Okay, so have you ever been ambushed by someone that stayed in their vehicle?
Maybe they were trying to do a drive. Well, I guess it would be a park by. A park by, maybe?
A park by? Yeah, a park by.
I mean, did they have
park by watching
on the side of the car? I don't know.
It was a park by viewing. That's what it was. Officer Simmons exited the business, entered his patrol unit, and the vehicle continued to stalk Officer Simmons as he exited the parking lot. The suspect's vehicle later turned off, and a short time later, it was circling the police department while Officer Simmons and Reyes were in the parking lot discussing the vehicle. Officer Reyes exited the police department parking lot in his marked patrol unit and observed a Hispanic male exit the blue vehicle, put on ballistic body armor vest, and then entered the driver's side of the vehicle. Any crimes there?
Nope, body armor is legal in Texas.
Okay. Did he, it doesn't say that he walked towards the officer that apparently was being stalked. And if officers are getting ambushed, why didn't this guy ambush him? Why did he get back in the vehicle?
Even then, it's not illegal to walk towards an officer while in body armor.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
Officer Reyes
menacingly.
Officer Reyes notified Officer Simmons of what he had witnessed. Hey, man, I saw a guy get into his vehicle. Dude. All right. What he had witnessed, and now the actions of the people in the vehicle were suspicious. Due to the overt action, that overt action being him putting on a vest and then getting in his own car, and officers felt as if they were about to commit a crime or commit a criminal act and cause them bodily injury and or death.
See, normally when people commit crimes, they do it covertly. It's like, hey, there's a cop 15 feet that way. Let me stare him in the eye. Don't break eye contact. Put a vest on. Grab a weapon, and while staring at him, go rob the liquor store. That's not.
I think they were afraid they were gonna throw the vest at him or something. You know, maybe smother him with the vest.
I've been hit with a sappy plate before. That's not fun. But regardless, doing that in front of an officer is not. It's like saying, "Hey, he went and he gently pet the kitten while in front of the officer, causing the officer to have distress." It's not illegal. No matter how you word it, it's not illegal.
Officer Simmons was able to obtain the license plate of the vehicle bearing, and then he gives the license plate number. I'm not going to repeat that here. The vehicle registration was out of Laredo, Texas. Oh my God. What is a guy with a Laredo, Texas license plate doing in Livingston? Damn it.
Maybe trying their Laredo grill, see if it's any good, or if it's something the rest of them.
So this raised more suspicion for the safety of the officers that someone would actually leave their own county. All right. So this raised more suspicion for the safety of Officers Simmons and Reyes due to their suspicious actions and stalking. I still can't find what's suspicious. Apparently putting on a vest and getting in the driver's seat of a vehicle is suspicious. Now, not putting on a vest, grabbing a gun and walking towards the police department, that's not suspicious because that's not what they did. But grabbing a vest and getting back in a vehicle.
I mean, if they put on some vests, some ski masks, grabbed some Dracos, and walked into a police department with them across their chest, I could see that, like the guys in, Minnesota, or was that Michigan? One of the two. Whatever, one of those.
It was Michigan. It was Michigan.
I could see that being a little. I mean, don't get me wrong, my butthole would pucker a little bit if I was a cop and I saw that. But just wearing a vest and being nearby, don't get me wrong, observe, but. Just because someone looks suspicious doesn't mean they're committing a crime.
Now, let me remind you, up to this point, the officer is saying that these people were stalking the police. Okay, they were stalking the police. So with that in mind, everything we've read so far was about them stalking the police. And now you come to this sentence. Officer Simmons made contact with the vehicle and the occupants after they pulled into the bank parking lot adjacent to the police department. So they went into a private business, parked, but who approached who? Just knocked down the officers approached them. Why would they have to do that if they were being stalked? All right. The driver of the vehicle pretended that he did not speak or understand the English language and was video recording all of the actions of Officer Simmons. Let me translate that out of stupidese from the police. In other words, he refused to speak. He exercised his right to remain silent. That's what he did. But this is how they describe your right to remain silent. Is that he pretended he didn't speak. What's that?
Just let me put this out there. So anyone asking, stalking in the state of Texas means a person constituting offense under Section 4207 that the actor knows or reasonably should know that the other person will regard as threatening bodily injury or death for one or other person, bodily injury or death for a member or another person's family or household, or an individual with whom the person has a dating relationship. So basically, in stalking in Texas, you have to make a threat, either verbally or some type of physical, like do the little hand sign thing. You have to threaten someone to stalk them. So unless he made a direct threat, either verbally or physically to the officer, it's not stalking.
Right. But yet the officers went and approached them. So the driver and all the occupants in the vehicle ignored Officer Simmons' request for their identification, as they should have, as they rightly did, as a result of their suspicious behavior. Remember, suspicious behavior is not a misdemeanor or a felony. It's not a crime.
The cops are stalking them now.
Yeah, now the cops are stalking them. Now, not only are they pulling them or stopping them and pulling up to them, now they want to know where they live. You know?
I mean, maybe he thought he was cute. I don't know.
The front seat white male passenger was video recording with his cell phone, Jim. And the worst of all, quote, being verbally rude to Officer Simmons. So sad. So sad.
I forgot. Is being rude to someone a misdemeanor or felony? I forget. Or is that just a ticketable offense, like a statue?
Is that like rudely displaying a firearm?
No, I think that's just like a city ordinance kind of deal.
The white male sitting in the back seat behind the driver was positively identified and known as Brandon, full name here, based on past law enforcement encounters for calls relating to, all right, remember, he's had past law enforcement encounters. This dude is a habitual offender of using his cell phone to record and harass law enforcement.
Now, remember, according to the federal government now, if you use your cell phone and you record the police, you can be considered a domestic terrorist.
The Hispanic male driver was wearing a tan-colored ballistic body armor vest with loaded ammunition. Officer Reyes arrived on scene for officer safety because, you can't have those cameras out there without worrying about your death. And, those vests are deadly, man. You know how many people are killed by ballistic vests every year?
I mean, if they drowned.
It was later determined that the Hispanic male knew and could speak the English language after being verbally abusive to Officer Simmons. I'm still waiting for a crime here, by the way.
No, I haven't heard me. I'll call it out when I hear it. I'm still waiting.
Okay. Through further investigation, the driver of the vehicle was later identified as Ishmael. By his Texas driver's license number and photograph. Apparently, they ran the driver's license, the tags. Rincon's driver's license was compared to officers' body cam videos from the traffic stop and matched the physical description and characteristics of Ishmael. And it would further show that Ishmael has been stopped by the Texas Department of Public Safety in the same vehicle on at least 4 different traffic stops and issued citations. Well, all right, so that's that.
That's a driver, though.
This is an affidavit for a complaint, and not a single crime is articulated in this entire page-and-a-half complaint.
CJ, real quick, let's do a thing real quick. Let's say any super chats we get goes to the defense of anyone who is involved in this. You want to do that?
Yes, if I get any super chats, it will go to any defense for the 4 individuals. Defense, absolutely. I would give 100% of that money to them. I don't know how much I've gotten so far. I don't know. I can't see. Oh, $2. Okay.
Hey,
now here's the problem. Now we get to the real issue here. Nothing in these affidavits identifies a criminal activity. Nothing. The only thing that could be a criminal activity is if it were true. But remember, the cop said it wasn't true because he's charging Melanie with making a false police report. So this obviously isn't true. But this could have been a crime if the officer hadn't undermined his own thing saying that it was a false report, that a man was walking around with a silenced pistol in his hand. Now, if you get a call saying someone's walking around and scaring people because he's got a pistol in his hand, he's waving it around, yes, I understand it. I understand that there might have been a criminal activity there, but there isn't one because the officer himself in this affidavit said that that was a fake phone call, that it was a false report to 911. But yet you have the Honorable Judge John Wells issuing an arrest warrant based on affidavits that don't identify or articulate a single crime. Now, they create this idea of a conspiracy, but they don't explain how the conspiracy came together. He doesn't even articulate. You can't just say these guys were conspiring without saying how they were conspiring in a fucking affidavit.
Well, even then, let's go over what exactly organized crime is, because a lot of people may not know that because it's 11 pages. I haven't read.
When you do that, hang on real quick though. But this is the warrant of arrest issued by a magistrate judge. Now, I want to tell you. Now, the officers can rely on, good faith stupidity that they were just executing a warrant that was issued to them. But when you're the officer executing the warrant based on a faulty affidavit, and that arrest warrant is based on a faulty affidavit, and you knowingly do that, which is what happened. The officer didn't articulate any crime here. The judge, based off of an affidavit that no reasonable judge can look at and say, oh, there's a crime there, issued a warrant, and therefore the warrant is faulty. This is a faulty warrant, and then the officers go and execute a faulty warrant. Goodbye to your qualified immunity. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So the big thing here is we're looking at the fact that they're trying to go underneath this whole organized crime thing. As someone mentioned, RICO, kind of similar to that, but different because it's a Texas law versus a federal law. And if we look at what exactly the definition for organized crime, and the big thing is you have to commit a certain crimes to be underneath what is considered to be organized crime. And a person commits an offense if the intent to establish, maintain, or to participate in the combination in the profits or the combination as a member of a criminal street gang, the person commits and conspires to commit one or more of the following. And it goes into murder, capital murder, arson, aggravated robbery, burglary, theft, aggravated kidnapping, aggravated assault, aggravated sexual assault, continuous sexual assault of a young child or disabled individual, solicitation of a minor, forgery, deadly conduct, assault, punishable as a Class A misdemeanor, burglary of a motor vehicle, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, any gambling offense punishable as a Class A misdemeanor, promotion of prostitution, aggravated promotion of prostitution, compelling prostitution, unlawful manufacturing, transportation, repair, or sale of a firearm or prohibited weapon, unlawful manufacturing, and it goes on to a list of crimes that someone has to commit. The problem about all this is no one committed any of the crimes that you must commit and be a member of a street gang or associated with a street gang for this. Now, what I'm thinking they're doing is actually number 4, which is the unlawful manufacture, transportation, repair, or sale of a firearm or prohibited weapon. Now, a suppressor is, even though it's not a weapon, it's considered an NFA device. So because the officers weren't allowed to violate someone's Fourth Amendment right and demand them to bring them a suppressor and show them a ID, a tax stamp, and possibly a trust to show that he legally owns this device that they're not even sure he had. They're saying that that's the reason why it's organized crime, because an individual had a device that's restricted. Problem is, here in the state of Texas, you can legally own a suppressor if it's manufactured in the state of Texas without having to have a tax stamp, as long as it's manufactured here and stamped manufactured in Texas. So by the officers doing this, they're going against state law and saying, oh, well, this guy had a suppressor. We don't know if it's legal or not, so we're assuming it's automatically illegal by using federal law when state law specifically says we cannot do this, and then charging everyone else with working with this individual for profit because they're videotaping this and they might monetize it and make a small profit off the videos that they made of recording us demanding to see this guy's property without having a warrant.
Right. And sorry about that. Let me, I was just
You're
setting
good.
up
That was my rant of showing how they're trying to use the law that they don't know to unlawfully demand something from someone and charge a bunch of other people.
Now, it sounds like what they're trying to do is get them on RICO stuff, even though in the first affidavit against Melanie and doing the false reporting, it's alluding to a law that was recently passed last year that went into effect in September, and that is so it's SB 1056, and what it did was it added Section 420601 to the penal code. Now, this is where certain individuals are deciding that I'm Satan for supporting this law. Now, let me give you some background. Jim knows this. I know this. Anyone with a brain knows this. Ever since Open Carry Texas has come out, I have personally, as well as others, had the police called on me saying that I was waving a gun around, saying that I was pointing guns at other people, and essentially calling 911 with a false police report to probably get me killed. Okay? So we worked because the laws are the way that it's written about filing a false report, it's like there was no teeth behind it. And the problem with swatting by the left has become so bad that something needed to be done. Now, remember early on, I talked about the fact that the purpose of government is to protect individual liberty. Well, I have a right to walk around with a gun and not have someone swat me. You have that right to not have someone call the police and give them a false report about something you're doing. So let me share this. I'm going to, this is the law right here. Whoops, let me go over here. This is the law right here. And I'm going to get into every part of this. All this does is it makes it a crime to induce an emergency response. In other words, if you call the police and you say there's somebody walking around with a gun in his hand, he's waving it around, and what was the wording that they used? Where'd it go? And it's causing the entire neighborhood to, quote, go crazy. When that didn't happen, it never happened. By the way, when the police showed up, right, they did not interview a single witness. They didn't go and talk to anybody in the town or in the area to find out if any of this was true. They went solely off of this phone call that was false. Matt kept his gun in its holster. And somebody was watching him close enough that they saw that it was a pistol. And I'm saying that even if this so-called 911 call exists, but apparently it does because the neighbor apologized for even calling the police, supposedly, from what I heard. When they did their overarching response. And so the fact that, and I don't even know that Matt can confirm this. I don't know even that she said that the gun was in his hand, just that she called and said that somebody with a silencer, I hate that word, that someone with a gun and a silencer was in the neighborhood. I don't even know the bill number. Senate Bill 1056. Senate Bill 1056. I'll show you guys here in a second. So what this law does is it creates, if you make a report of a criminal offense or an emergency, and it causes essentially government employees to show up, if that person knows the report is false. So in other words, if someone calls and says there's someone that's got a gun in their hand and they're waving it around, and the neighborhood, it's causing the neighborhood to, quote, go crazy. And you know that that's false because nobody was carrying around a gun. And that false report causes a response from a law enforcement agency. That's a crime. It's a Class A misdemeanor. Now, it's a felony if you've got, it's a state jail felony if you've got 2 or more of these kinds of convictions. But it's a felony of the 3rd degree, which is harsher than a state jail felony, if someone gets hurt because you swatted them. And essentially what this is it's an anti-swatting law. The reason we fought for this was because Open Carry Texas members are frequently getting swatted by leftists. And then, of course, you've got Antifa, who loves to swat conservatives and anybody that doesn't think like them. Calling the police on people. I mean, heck, what was that, Jim? Do you remember that podcaster recently that got swatted while he was live?
Tim Pool.
Tim Pool, yeah.
And
that's what this law does. Now, here's what certain idiots are talking about. Look, there's this section down here that they're saying is a footnote. It's not a footnote. It's part of the damn law. It says this section may not be construed in any manner to conflict with 47 USC section 230 or 42 USC section 1983. And I'm going to go into both of those because nowhere in that line right there that keeps getting quoted to me does it say, oh, we know this is an unconstitutional law. We know it. Look, right here, we're even admitting that this law here, this 420601 is unconstitutional. I'm sorry, but you got to be a moron to think that that's what this says. Okay? If that's what you think this says, you're a moron and you don't know how to read. Because if you go to 47, well, let me do 1983 because that's everybody knows what 1983 is. 1983 is essentially abuse of authority under color of law.
The year I was born.
Yeah. This is it. For those of you that don't know, let me maximize my screen here. For those of you that don't know, let me try. Here we go. This right here. This is this. Oh crap! What's going on? This is all 1983. This is the whole law. This is the whole law about color. This is it. Just that section right there. Now there's like 10 pages of notes and how case law has been used on that issue. But that's 1983. We all know that. So what that section says when it says this section may not be construed in any manner to conflict with these 2 sections, specifically 1983. In other words, law enforcement cannot interpret this to violate your rights. That's what that says. It's plain as day if you can read, if you understand simple verbiage. What that says, that section D, is you cannot, look, Officer Dumbass Paskey and Officer Sergeant Dumbass, whatever your name was, okay? You can't interpret 460601 to undermine someone's rights, to abuse your authority under the color of law. Okay, you can't. That's what it says. It cannot be construed in that way. In no way, shape, form, or manner does that section right there, Justin, say that, oh, this right here says it's proving it's unconstitutional. It actually specifically protects your constitutional rights because it tells officers you can't use the color of law to interpret this. You can't interpret this in a way that's going to violate someone's rights. The next thing is the other section here. Let me go back to my bring both of us in here.
No, you're good. You're on a rant, man. I'm just letting you go.
Yeah. So the other part of this is section 230, which I keep trying to click on my other screen, but 47 USC section 230. Now you may have heard this is a pretty long law. It's 4 pages long. Okay. But essentially, we all know what Section 230 is. This is the one that social media uses to get away with censoring people, right? So, in other words, It talks about the findings. It's got protection for Good Samaritan stuff, civil liability. No provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be held liable on account of any action voluntarily taken in good faith to restrict access to or availability of material that the provider considers to be obscene, lewd, lascivious, blah, 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 blah. That's what this, that's what Section 230 does, is it protects internet companies from speech. And what this section says is that you can't interpret what this law says to violate their right. And there's a section in here that I think immediately why this section was put in there. Because in Section 230, there under E, 230E 3, talks about state law. Nothing in this section shall be construed to prevent any state from enforcing any state law that is consistent with this section. No cause of action may be brought, no liability may be imposed under any state or local law that is inconsistent with this section. Okay, that's what it means. That's what those two laws right there are. Nowhere in there. And I'll tell you what, and I'm going to put something in here real quick. Let's see, share. Nope, that's not it. Hide this, invite. All right. Copy. Paste. Now, if you want to come on here and argue that that word or that section D, this section may not be construed in any manner to conflict with Section 230 of 47 USC or Section 1983 of 42 USC, there's the link. Come and prove me wrong. Tell me how that section right there, it says that, oh, look, 460 or 420601 is unconstitutional, and we know it, and we're going to admit it right here. We're going to admit that it's sorry. You've really got to be pushing an agenda and just trying to gin up donations to be going around telling people that that's what this section says. It's not. All you have to be able to do is read and understand big words, but apparently some people can't do that. All right. That's the law. That's it. So I don't understand. I think we have a case for what I would do if I were the attorney. First of all, if I were his attorney, or these individuals' attorney, I would contact the prosecutor immediately. And by the way, I did contact the prosecutor tonight, wearing my hat as the president of Open Carry Texas, and I tried to find out. Look, you've got the affidavits there. Exactly what law are y'all enforcing here? You can't conspire to do something legal. You can't. You can't conspire to do something legal. It's just, that's the dumbest thing in the world. And everything in that affidavit is legal.
I got something to say on that one. So if you do contact the DA on this one, just from experience that we've had over the years of dealing with DAs.
Oh my gosh, extra good citizen. No, it doesn't. Go ahead.
Yeah, over the years, first thing I can say is try not to be threatening. Try not to be overly argumentative. Try to be articulate as you can in stating the facts, saying, hey, this was unlawful. They're having improper charges brought against them. This is retaliatory. Big thing is try not to, I don't want to say try not to piss them off because they're going to be pissed off regardless. But if you get too stringent against them, that might make them go after the people who have the arrest warrants, the people who are already arrested, and be more, try to be more stringent upon them. So we need to try to be diplomatic at first. I know it sucks. It sucks that we have to work with people who are willing to do this to innocent citizens. But that's the first line of defense, is we have to try to work with them to get these charges dropped, to try to have the DA look at it, because the DA didn't sign off on this. The judge did. And if we can get on his good side and have enough people, send them a message, send them either on Facebook or a call or whatever, and say, hey, I don't think this is right. I think this person is being railroaded. This person is not being treated properly. and him to look at it and see enough outcry from individuals who feel this, then he might go, okay, yeah, this is BS. Let's drop these charges. But if we personally attack him or make threatening language or something of that nature, he might try to recoil from the situation and allow the charges to stay longer. And at the bail that's set, $100,000 plus, here in Texas, that means you got to have at least 10 grand. Some of these people may not have that to be able to put to a bail bondsman, may make them stay in prison for longer. So let's try to be nice at first. And if that doesn't work, then we can adjust our strategy as need be.
All right. I'm gonna address. Look, I like Extra Good Citizen. I don't think he's as much of a shit stir as Justin is. So I'm gonna politely respond to him because I've got respect for him. I used to respect Justin, but I don't anymore. But I do respect you, Extra Good Citizen. And I want to explain why your interpretation is wrong. And I'm going to go back to, let me go back to this. Where is it? There it is. All right. I'm going to go back to the law itself. And this is what people are misinterpreting. Or causes a report of a criminal offense to be made. That doesn't mean that just because you're doing something and someone calls 911, that makes absolutely no sense. That's not what this law means. What's that?
High Impact Flicks. Love you, man.
Hey, I High Impact Flicks. Nice. I love his stuff, man. I watch him all the time. I wish I could watch more of it, but I usually got school. But anyway,
greatest hair in the industry.
Yeah. So this part where it says or causes a report of a criminal offense, what in the law, what this is referring to is if you tell someone to call the police and essentially lie to the police, or let's say that even that person, all right, Jim, I tell you something, I need you to call the police because my neighbor is planning to destroy or blow up a police station, right? And I know this is false. I know it's false that my neighbor's not doing that, but you know what? My neighbor's dog shit on my yard and I'm pissed off. And so I'm going to get him swatted. So I call Jim because I don't want my neighbor to know that I'm the one calling the police. And I say, hey, Jim, dude, you got to call 911 immediately. This dude's manufacturing explosives. And Jim calls the police and makes that report. That's me causing Jim to report a false criminal offense. Jim won't be held liable for that, even though it's a false report. He doesn't know that. He doesn't have the mens rea for that. And so when it says or causes, people are going into the absurd onto this. Now, can a police officer go, you know what? You were driving with a truck that had a fuck Joe Biden sticker on the back. So I called 911. Well, what? Can a cop go, look, if you didn't have that fuck Joe Biden sticker back there, we wouldn't have been called. We wouldn't have had to respond. Yes, you're probably going to have a moron officer like the people in Livingston, apparently, that might do that. But at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, if in that situation, I mean, a 911 dispatcher should go, okay, well, it's not illegal to have that bumper sticker on a vehicle. You can write down in the report that someone called and did it, but seeing the fact that no crime was committed. Police make this argument that it's their duty to respond to any 911 call. That's a fallacy. It's not their duty to respond to a 911 or non-emergency call unless a report of a crime has been responded. So if someone says, I am reporting that no crime has been, hey, someone's dog shit on my yard, as you said, they're not going to send cops for that because it's not illegal. And if they do, that's their own problem.
Yeah. And look, Ransom Pendragon, I don't know what first of all, I'm not a Proud Boy anymore, but I still support what they used to be about. But I don't understand what your problem with the Proud Boys is unless you're just media brainwashed about them. I mean, yeah, there are some douchebags in the Proud Boys. I know Jim doesn't like them, but I'm not a Proud Boy anymore. After January 6th, I left. So the Proud Boys did nothing wrong. I still support them, but I don't support the leadership.
Yeah, I don't join any organization unless I thoroughly agree with everything they stand for. Because if like, let's say a political party, if I don't agree with everything the political party stands for and their
Oh
main
my gosh.
people, then I represent that whole party. So if I join something, then that means I'm a representative of them and everyone in their group. So that's why I don't join parties or organizations or groups very often, because I don't want to have to defend or represent.
Ransom, find me one law that cannot be used by the cops to trample our Constitution. Okay, just you don't not get laws passed that protect individual liberty. Remember, go back to what I originally said. I don't know if you were here at the beginning, but I stipulated this. The sole and individual responsibility of government is to protect individual liberty. Period. Point blank. End of discussion. That's what, in my view. I mean, obviously, we can debate this all day long, but that's what the purpose of government is. So those laws must go to that end. There are cops out there. You can't sit here and say we don't need this law because there might be a cop out there that uses it. Okay, you know what? And all that's got to happen here is that we hold these cops accountable. Again, if I were the attorneys, I would be charging these officers with filing false affidavits. I would be reporting this judge to the State Commission on Judicial Misconduct. Not that it's going to do any good, because they all pat each other's back and suck each other's teats and just protect each other. But I'd still report this judge. Anytime I had a client that was going to have to go before this judge, I would file a motion to be removed from that court. Well, not removed, that's an actual legal term, but to go to another court. But this law as written, find me one law that can't be used by the police and bastardized. Just because it's a law, I supported this law to protect Texans. That's what it does. It protects our individual liberty to be able to walk out with a gun, an AR-15, a silenced pistol, whatever it is, to be able to exercise a tank, I don't care, to exercise your Second Amendment rights and not have to worry about what's already been happening for years, which is having leftists, progressives, Antifa, and all these other morons out there call the police with these fake reports that, oh, this guy's waving his guns around. Okay, this makes it a felony to do that. And people who swat innocent people deserve to be charged with felonies. And this is not written in a way that can be misconstrued. What the officers are trying to do here is say that, and actually what they should be doing. This law is actually, here's the thing. The law, if there is indeed a 911, let me get rid of this here. If there is indeed a 911 call out there that says somebody was walking around with a silenced pistol in his hand and scaring people with it, okay, that's not a false 911. Well, that's a false 911 call. That's what this law is supposed to do. If that exists, if in fact there is a 911 call that says Matt was walking around with his pistol in his hand, waving it around and scaring people, and that never happened, which it did not happen in this case. Matt was not walking around with his pistol in his hand. It was in his holster. He wasn't touching it. That's what this law fixes. Whoever made that phone call. Look, even if Melanie is the one that made the phone call, which is what they're alleging here. They're alleging that they called the police on themselves to force. This is where the conspiracy comes in. They're trying to claim that they called the police on themselves for the sole intention of getting a police response so that they can film it. That's I think what is going to be the theme of this case for them.
Well, and another big issue we're looking at too is we got to look at the flow of criminal activity. So let's say he was, just for a thought exercise, walking around with a pistol with a silencer / suppressor, which, by the way, for everyone in the comments section, both of them are correct in legal definitions. They're interchangeable by both patent and also legal terms throughout U.S. history. So you can use either. I know they're annoying to some people. So let's say he was doing that. Why was he not charged with brandishing? Why was he not charged with calculated to cause alarm? So those would be the first charges that would have to be brought up against him. Well, he wasn't. So obviously it didn't happen. Otherwise they would have charged him with that. So why do that? Then they're trying to say that he had, the criminal activity, or the, once again, it doesn't meet the definitions. This is just police officers who don't like a group of people. So they're just trying to, we call this, take it, throw it against the wall, see what sticks. So they're just making up a bunch of BS, and they're throwing it against the wall, and like, they know it's probably not going to stick, but at the end of the day, what they're trying to do is purely retaliatory. They're going to throw them in jail, make them put out massive amounts of bond for felony charges. Now they're all going to have felony arrest on their records unless they spend a bunch of money to get expungements done to the records after the fact, make them hire lawyers, and then they have to go to court, spend a bunch of money on these lawyers, or, pathetic defenders. And at the end of the day, it's just trying to prove a point that if we want to, we can destroy your life by just making stuff up. That's all it is. They know it's never going to stick, but they're just trying to show them a lesson.
You can beat the rap, but you're not going to beat the ride.
Yep. That's all it is.
And I need to educate Justin once again, because he's still infecting the chat over there.
Oh, I'm ignoring him.
So Justin says, "Oh, it's already a crime, man. It's already a crime to do a false report." Yeah, it is. It's a crime to file a police report that's false. So you walk in, you file a false police report, whoop-de-frickin-do, you get a Class B misdemeanor. This law is not the same. This new law is specifically designed for swatting. It creates that false report when it results in the police going somewhere. Just because someone files a false police report doesn't mean it's going to result in the police coming down, ordering people at gunpoint to get on their face. This law actually protects people even more. The new one, the one that Justin apparently thinks is not needed. So Justin supports swatting. Let's go ahead and use this stupid logic. I'm gonna take out my brain and then just leave it out because I can't replace it with Justin's because he doesn't have one right now apparently. But
I'm not going there.
Well, I'm going there, and I wouldn't have if we weren't attacked publicly. But the fact that what Justin is saying is I support swatting. I don't support filing false police reports. No. But I support swatting. I definitely support swatting. So, no, it's 420601. 420601, Justin. Come on. If you're going to come in here and bring facts, bring facts. All right, I'm going to call you out every single time. It's not 4206. It's 420601. That's the law. I had it up here earlier. As a matter of fact, I still have it up here. Right there. Although I got to get back down to it now because I increased my thing.
Scrolling. Oh, by
now,
the way,
there is false alarm report. False report to induce an emergency response. Now, you know what? Let's go under 46 or 4206 as well. So, circulates a report of, communicates a future bombing, fire, offense, or other emergency he knows is baseless that would cause action by an official, not an emergency official, organized to deal with emergencies, place a person in fear. That's what this does. I don't understand what here's the thing. If it's shut the fuck up. There are some dumb ass people that, never mind. I'm not even gonna, just not even gonna.
No, I love it. They're calling you a liberal, but it's like, I'm assuming they know absolutely nothing about
since he said I'm a liberal, I'm gonna do a liberal thing and I'm gonna block him for 5 minutes. There you go. He's blocked for 5 minutes.
Oh, you're censoring people, CJ.
I'm so liberal now. Now I'm going to show you how liberal I am. I'm so liberal that I've got a guy that I'm criticizing here as one of my moderators. That's how liberal I am. Libertarian. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm in that.
There are some things I am liberal about. As a matter of fact, I believe in gay marriage. I believe. I don't believe in it, but I don't believe the government should stop it. I believe that drugs should be legalized. I mean, that's a liberal position. So you want to call me a liberal? Okay. All right. I'll take it.
I don't think you should be able to manufacture.
I'm not liberal or conservative.
In your garage personally, but whatever.
Well, yeah. Well, but see, then you have the right to, regulate manufacture, interstate commerce and stuff like that.
Well, then you're trying to regulate people, man. I mean, which one?
No, just the commerce.
Okay, now if you want to grow marijuana in your back of your yard with a compost pile, by all means, man, I think that should be legal.
Matt says they're refusing to tell him about any charges or warrants.
Why would they tell him why he's going to be arrested in the middle of the night when they kick down his door with a no-knock warrant? That would be dumb.
And just another reason we got to get rid of no-knock warrants.
Well, we restricted them in Killeen through a lot of work, so that worked pretty well.
Is there any way to undo a block for 5 minutes? I was just doing that to be funny, but I want to unblock this person.
Dude, I don't know. I don't block people. I'm not some kind of liberal.
Well, I didn't block him. I just put him in timeout.
You're like still a nice liberal. I can't help that.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. All right. I think I've made my point. You can agree with me or not. The fact of the matter is, when you sit there and you ascribe, you sit there and try to tell people that I supported this law because I work with the police. The whole freaking purpose I'm in law school is to sue cops. That's it. My website is isuebadcops.com. I've already bought it. Don't believe me? Go type it in and go look at a search engine. Who owns isuebadcops.com? It's me. It's me.
Technically, we work with police. We're engaged in a couple federal lawsuits against them, and we got to work with them in that lawsuit.
Yeah. And some of our informants are police. So, you got to work with some police.
Correct. Yeah, I work with police too. I mean, because see, I'm not one of those anarchist anti-police where it's like, oh, we need to abolish all of them, get rid of them and stuff like that. I just think they need to be accountable and they need to follow the law and they need to stop this authoritarian crap. So there's a big difference between working with police and Gestapo type, little guy running around reporting on everyone for the police.
Right.
Very different subjects on that.
Well, I'll take it a little more extreme. I don't think today's modern law enforcement needs to exist in any way, shape, or form. Now, if they want to bring back the Pelian principles of law enforcement and get back to the roots of what the purpose of law enforcement is, then fine. But this idea of
policing,
they're essentially enforcers now. They're not the keepers of peace. They're enforcers of bad laws. That's it. So I stand with good cops, the few that there are, but anyway. All right, so that was what this is all about. Matt, just as an update, they're not telling him what charges. The only arrest warrant that we have at this point is for Melanie, and the arrest warrant is based on this engaging in organized criminal activity. Engaging in organized criminal activity, and then we also have another one for her. So she's the only one that's got these warrants right now. The other one for her is false report to induce an emergency response.
Of all the people involved in all of this, they're going after the mother, as far as I know, I might be mistaken, the low-income mother who is just friends with these people, who is working with them, but not the person with the body armor, not the person who had the suppressor, none of that. No, they're going after the lady who recorded them. It's like they went after the lowest hanging fruit because they thought that if we go after her, the most vulnerable of the group, it will incite them the most.
Yeah. Now that we've done all this and we've made this a very confrontational video, let's end on a positive note. And here's how you do that. When instead of attacking people and burning bridges and saying stupid shit publicly, how about you just say, hey, look, this is what I believe. I think that, this is how this should be interpreted. There are other people like CJ who think it's interpreted differently. They think this is a good law. And here's why they think it's a good law, because obviously whether it's a good law or a bad law, it's the intention of the law, which I think it meets. The intention of the law is to protect activists. And I think that's largely what it does. Just because it's been used once, and I guarantee you what's going to come out of this. Hang on, somebody's on a hot mic on Voxer.
Yeah, well, any law can be used in
any law can be. And you know what's going to happen? What's going to happen is this is going to be litigated, And what's going to happen is this is not the intent of the law. Unless it's proven that Melanie called the cops on herself with this false, if it's proven that someone, Melanie or anybody, called the police and actually said, although I don't believe this is what was actually said to the police. I think that's fake. I think this is a false affidavit, and I think they need to be charged with perjury because this is under oath. But if it is in fact proven, and I'll know once I get my open records request in, that someone called and said that Matt was waving around his gun, and that's not true, or that is true, or no, I'm sorry, it's not true, then that person, whoever it is, Melanie or anybody, whoever made that phone call needs to go to jail because they put Matt's life in danger. Whoever made that phone call saying that Matt was waving around his gun and scaring people caused a bunch of armed thugs to show up, and Matt's life was endangered. So even using the police theory that they were just doing this so they could film it and have something to put on YouTube, well, guess what? Any of you guys that do that, when you call the police on yourselves, you're endangering your own life. It's the dumbest thing anyone can do. I don't know a single activist that is going to go around, and they probably exist, okay? I just don't have any evidence. But I don't know what activist that believes in police accountability is going to call the police on themselves knowing that that's a potential death sentence. I don't get it. It makes absolutely no sense. But if that's what happened, if someone called the police and said that Matt was walking around waving his gun around, and that didn't happen, whether it was Matt himself or Melanie or someone else, that person needs to be prosecuted because they endangered Matt's life. So, and what the law does, what the letter of the law does, is it protects people from that. It protects open carriers specifically because we have been swatted way too many times. Look what happened to Jack. Got swatted by the police. Could have been killed that night when the police go breaking down his door, running through his garage. Someone could have been killed that night. This is no joke. And to go around and start attacking other activists when you know damn well, because you've known them for a long time, that this is a liberty-minded activist saying that, oh, he shouldn't have supported this because it even says it's unconstitutional. You know, I've just called out every single argument and proven it false. And what happens? Oh, no, but what about this? Oh, but what about this? Oh, but what about this? You know, we can unicorn this all day long. All right. Anything else, Jim?
Nope. I think we've thoroughly covered it, brought some different ideas into it. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of extra comments in the comment section after we post this, and we can get back at them as it comes through. But let's see how things develop. Let's continue to work. I'll try to work with the DA to see if he can't drop these BS charges, and then work the situation as it develops.
Yeah, and I'll say, I guess I'll say, well, I don't know who calls the police on themselves. I just think it's stupid. You know, if you believe in police accountability, if you believe in limited government, and you're a YouTube person who's making videos, why would you call the police, one, to put your life in danger, but two, why would you cause the taxpayer money by wasting these resources? Why would you do that? So anyone that does call the police on themselves, they're not really a constitutional activist in any way, shape, or form because they believe in wasting our money, our tax money that's stolen from us.
Well, remember, there's some people out there that don't really care about being an activist, but just care about that sweet ad revenue. Yeah,
exactly. All right, gentlemen, ladies, everyone out there, I think I've made my point clear. And if you've got something against me or Jim, fucking contact us, man. Just contact us. Don't be a douchebag and make private disagreements public. Because you know what? You did an hour and 30-minute video being proven wrong and embarrassed.
Yeah, anyone can hit me up on Facebook at James Everard or go over to Not So Slim Jim. hit me up in the comments on any one of my videos. I respond to almost all of them, and you guys can ask me questions and have a civil discussion or uncivil, depends on how much you've been drinking. And I'll feel free to discuss, and we can talk shop.
And Dwayne's right. What about the prosecutor that takes the charges? I took a class last semester called the Prosecution Project, and our professor, really good constitutional, he was a judge, probably one of the best professors I've had, and one of the judges I wish every judge was like. But the purpose was to create ethical prosecutors, because we have a problem right now. And I contacted the prosecutor, and I wanted to talk to him about these affidavits, because I don't understand how a prosecutor can read these affidavits and file charges. And if he does, he's corrupt, and there's a problem with the system. And so, yeah, when a prosecutor files charges based on such a baseless and senseless affidavit as this, that doesn't identify a single crime, that hell, that's what we need a law for. We need a law holding prosecutors accountable when they file charges based on faulty affidavits that doesn't identify a single law being broken.
Not going to happen when the majority of lawmakers in Texas are lawyers. But no, it's
well, not only that, not only lawyers, but prosecutors. A lot of them are prosecutors.
You put it on the desk, they sign it. That's how it works. But anyways, let's wrap this up. We're looking at an hour and a half. My ass cheeks are falling asleep, and I got stuff to get done.
And I've actually got some clients I got to talk to in 15 minutes.
Yeah, you got work to do, boy. Go make that law school degree.
I'm helping an attorney with all these religious exemptions and vaccine exemptions, as well as social media bans. So
all hail Spaghetti Monster.
That's right. All right, y'all. Take care. Be safe. Be free. Thanks, Jim, for joining us.